As someone who majored in history and someone who loves historical dramas, I admit I'm a little late to the party of Shogun, a show I have heard nothing but praise about. I decided to watch the previous episodes and do some digging on whether the characters and the events were portrayed accurately or not. And now I have to say, I'm impressed. Episode 4 was a great addition to the amazing run Shogun has been showcasing from the start. The episode might have solidified Yabushige as my favorite character from the entire series. There's something so spectacular about just watching him shift sides, and you always wonder what he will do next. I do also have to say John Blackthorne has grown on me quite a bit, with his enthusiasm to learn about the Japanese culture. I can go on and on about the incredible portrayal of these characters, especially how I missed the presence of Toranaga in this episode, who steals every scene he's in. But we need to talk about episode 4. We need to talk about what his stupid son did and what the repercussions of this act will be. Let's also discuss John's new title and consort and see whether his new life in Japan aligns with what happened to William Adams, the real man John's character is based on. Before I begin, let me quickly apologize for all the Japanese names I will butcher today. Thank you for your understanding. Episode 4 showed John being introduced to what his new title, Hatamoto, would bring. Apparently, Hatamoto means a bannerman, and someone like Toranaga would have tens of them, like officers working under a general. William Adams, the English navigator, was given the same title, a house and an estate worth of 250 koku. One koku being the amount of rice that would feed one person for a whole year. So it was a pretty good salary, even though John hasn't realized it yet.
I don't want any generous cuckoos.
And Fuji-sama as a consort.
Although Mariko made it clear that John had to stay in Japan at least for 6 months, I don't think John truly grasped his situation there. He believed he was in some sort of a partnership with Toranaga, but he's still his prisoner in a way, just now more respectable. He was entrusted with the task of teaching Yabushige and his soldiers the ways the barbarians fight, but as a navigator who didn't really take part in a real battle, John decided to teach them how to use the cannons. I had a difficulty in understanding why the Japanese didn't know how to use cannons, because they did say before that they already had cannons. The Portuguese had already given them years before, so it looks like the Portuguese never properly taught them how to use the cannons. So that's why Yabushige and the others were surprised to see what a cannon could do. Or perhaps John's cannons were more advanced, since it makes sense that a privateer on a Dutch ship would have cannons of better quality. This is my understanding of how the show depicted the difference between John's cannons and the cannons the Japanese already owned, but I'm not sure if it's overplayed. Now, I did not expect the final scene of episode 4. So Yabushige was trying to play both sides again. When Ishido's men came to take him to Osaka so that he would be punished for his betrayal to Ishido, Yabushige wanted to play his last hand and try to convince Ishido's men to see what the cannons would do. I mean, I think even if the demonstration ended up being successful, he would still be forced back to the council and forced to commit seppuku. There's no way he could have gotten out of this mess, but I loved seeing him try. I kinda did expect Nagakado to sabotage the demonstration, but not in this way. He seems to be someone who can be easily influenced, as it was quite easy for Omi to plant seeds of doubt in his mind and manipulate him into thinking he couldn't make important decisions. I mean, there were so many things he could have done before starting a straight-up war. He could have sabotaged the demonstration so that the cannons didn't look as promising. He could have kept the power of their new cannons a secret. Besides the fact that he started a war, what Nagakado did actually helped him in that now Ishido's men won't have the advantage of knowing about the accuracy of John's cannons. I presume they killed every man of Ishido's side, although I suspect Ishido will hear how his men died and understand that they used a new weapon. Ishido's men getting killed in Yabushige's town ended the last sliver of trust Ishido might have had in Yabushige, so he is now forced to support Toranaga. And now he knows how sophisticated their weapons are and how they can give his men more advantage in a battle. Ishido's man was right. This isn't how samurai fight, and that was the point. I should also talk about John's personal storyline and what happened with Fuji and Mariko. First of all, if you have any doubts, let me clear it up for you. That was indeed Mariko. but whether Fuji knows about it is not really clear. Maybe Fuji knows that it was Mariko but doesn't care as long as she doesn't have to have intimacy with John herself. Or maybe she thought it was another woman and Mariko sneaked in without Fuji's knowledge. Tell me your thoughts on this in the comments below. As for whether this is historically accurate, it's complicated. William Adams did have a wife and 2 children back in England, as John said on the show.
Do you have children?
Yes. My boy Tudor and my daughter Elizabeth.
And he also married in Japan after serving Toranaga for a few years. He married the adopted daughter of a highway official and had 2 children from her. But this woman was not noble or high-standing like Fuji is depicted on the show. It looks like William married out of love instead of going through with a socially important marriage. For those waiting for Mariko and John to end up happily ever after, let me just tell you, that will not happen if they stay true to historical records, and I guess they will. It is also rumored that William Adams had a child from another woman, but we don't know if this will be explored in the show. I kind of know a lot about Mariko, but I don't want to give away too much spoilers, so I'll stop for now. If you want me to do a video about Mariko and the real woman she's based on, I'll happily do it. Overall, episode 4 had scenes that were quite enjoyable. I could feel the tension between John and Mariko even when they had their backs on each other. The way they talked about what they would do if they were in London was incredible. I also enjoyed Fuji's scenes. The way she said a lot only with her facial expressions was masterclass. Other than that, I'm waiting to see how Toranaga will react to what happened at the end of this episode. He's always so calm and patient, and there's something both wonderful and scary about that. I guess we'll see. If you want to see a breakdown of episode 5 next week, don't forget to subscribe to next season. See you soon.